Hey guys, so if you've been following the case of 10-year-old Trinity Eslinger, the girl who was taken away by the current on a Florida beach just a few days ago, you're gonna want to hear this. Trinity's mom, whose name is Raven, her boyfriend was actually on this trip with them, and he actually detailed everything that went down prior to Trinity being taken away by the current. This is extremely emotional. I'm gonna play that right now. My thoughts and prayers are with him and with Trinity's family. I mean, this is devastating.
I told Raven, like, look, it's about that time. We both in agreement. So yeah, it's about that time. Time to wrap it up. When I say the day was so beautiful, man, when we were wrapping up, I got it on video. There were some airplanes putting on a show, putting on a air show. I'm telling you, like, everything was perfect. But so yeah, it was time to go. Like 7:05, 7:10. I get up, I say, all right, I'm about to go round up the kids and wash this sand off me. Because I had sand everywhere. Like I said, I was laying in it, playing in it, all this stuff. And so I go and tell the kids, hey, it's time to go. And Trin and Kingston, they're older, they got questions. They were like, where you going? You know, I'm like, oh, I'm just about to walk out here, get this sand off my body. And so they walked as far as they were comfortable. Like I said, this was nothing out of the ordinary. Something we was doing the entire 3.5 hours that we were out there. Where they stopped, it was a spot we've already been, everyone already been. And so I was maybe about 10 feet ahead of them, you know, and they were standing there just talking, nothing to alarm anybody of any danger. And me, you know, I'm dipping to get the sand off my body, you know, rubbing myself down and stuff. And I had sand in my head, so I go up to float on my back. A lot of you don't know me, but some people know that I float. That's my favorite way of swimming. I float on my back, and yeah, I float on my back. I was floating to wash the sand out of my hair. And as I was floating, like, I wasn't floating to swim. I was just floating just to stay still, wash the sand out of my hair. So I wasn't paddling or anything. I wasn't stroking or anything like that. But after I felt that the sand was all gone out of my head, I go into a doggy paddle. You know, so if you know what a doggy paddle is, that's basically swimming on your stomach. And I look, I'm like, I'm a whole lot farther away from Trin and Kingston, a lot more farther, you know, from them, for me to just be floating to stay still. And so I start to, and they're still just standing there talking, you know, looking at me, standing there talking, looking at me, standing there talking. And so I try to swim. I get back on my back and start swimming back to them, or so I thought. And so after I felt that I swam enough to reach them, I go back into a doggy paddle, and I'm in the same position, still further away from them than what I should be. And so I asked them, like I said, all this time, there was no warning signs, no nothing up until this point. So I asked them again, you know, that was just looking at me and talking, just chilling. I asked them again, I was like, I was just swimming to y'all. Was I moving to you? And they was like, no, you weren't moving to us. You was just swimming in place. And so me knowing what's going on, I didn't want anybody to panic. I said, all right, guys, look, we're gonna walk back to the beach. And this is where it gets tough at. A lot of people who know me know that I bottle up. I'm usually not a guy to show emotion. Whew. All right. But I said, yeah, we're going to walk back to the beach. But instead of walking, both my son and Trinity, they took their feet off the ground and they was thinking they were going to swim back to the beach. And that's where I messed up. I knew that I was in the current. I knew since I was in the current that they were in the same one, but they didn't know anything was wrong. My son, he know how to swim a little bit. And earlier in that vacation, I've actually been teaching him how to float and giving him reasons on why. I'll come to that later. But yeah, they took their feet off the ground, which was their safety net. And when they took their feet off the ground, the current just flowed them to me. And me knowing my son, he had swimming lessons, I yelled at him. I said, Kingston, just float on your back. And he did just that, no hesitation. And he immediately started yelling for help. And Trin, she had her snorkel gear on. So, and I knew that Trin, she wasn't the swimmer. So my focus was on Trin. And I saw my son, he was okay. He floated on his back. I taught him. And he did just that. And so this entire time while we were fighting to save Trin, you know, that's what my son was doing, just floating on his back the entire time. But when they floated out to me, when that current brought them out to me, I knew right then and there I had to help Trin out. And so my son, he started yelling for help. And that's what got the alarm of everybody on the beach. The people on the beach heard, and they started blowing whistles or waving towels and stuff, trying to flag boaters down. And all that time while that was going on, I'm going underwater, grabbing Trin by her legs and pushing her up, but doing it in a way to where I can conserve energy, but also keep her head above water until, you know, help arrive. And so I'm going up for air, coming down, pushing her up, go up for air, come back down, grab her legs, keep pushing her up. And like I said, I wasn't using all my energy at the time until I saw help. Her mom heard the help screams. And so, remember I said her mom was at the picnic, well, we were at the picnic table. I was in the sand, and not the picnic table, but the picnic blanket. So when I got up to go and wash the sand off my body, her mom was just walking in the shallows of the beach, you know, where the water, it'd hit your feet and then recede, hit your feet. She was just walking in the beach, you know, it was nothing to worry about. But back to where we were at, when she heard the screams and the help calls, she immediately came running and fighting through that water. And she's not the strongest swimmer, but she was the first one to get to us. And as I said, I was pushing Trin up in a way to where I can conserve my energy to not, you know, because I didn't know how long it was going to take for help to arrive. But when I saw her mom, I figured her mom was, you know, I was pushing enough to where we were, I figured I was pushing enough to where we gotten back close to the shallows. So when I saw her mom, I figured her mom was, you know, walking. And so I gave her a real big push when I saw her mom. Wasn't worried about conserving no more energy anymore. I gave her a real big push. And she actually flew past her mom. And her mom had to go get her. And immediately after I gave that big push, there was this boat that came. And I was at the front of the boat, and I saw that they grabbed my son from floating. They grabbed him out and pulled him up on the back of the boat. And I saw like this little hook to hold on to. So I was swimming to that hook, and one of the people on the boat came and he was like, "You need help?" I was like, "No, just go get them." And so I just grabbed that hook and just held on to the hook. But when the boat stopped, it was spinning, and it actually spent me the opposite way from seeing what was going on the other side of the boat. And so from right now, I got to give a point of view from Raven's point of view, and from like I seen like the paddle boat lady comments. And so yeah, as I was holding on to the hook, a lady on the paddleboard paddled out. And remember I said Raven was she had trend, but I thought she was on sand, and I thought she was walking, so I thought everything was good. But Raven told me later that she actually wasn't walking, she was doggy paddling also. And so basically where I left off, she took over. And I wasn't aware that what was going on. For one, I thought she was walking and sand, and for two, I was holding on to the boat, and the boat was spinning in the opposite, spinning me away from what was going on. But those two guys that was on the boat, at first I thought they came from the beach, but from the paddleboard lady perspective, the two guys that were on the boat, they were the ones that got into the water and they grabbed Trent. Well, Raven pushed Trent to them, and they had her. And from Raven's perspective, she said, you know, I pushed Trent to him, and they had her, and there was no more struggling. Trent was, you know, we were good, you know, everything was good. And I'm guessing that the two guys thought Raven couldn't swim also, as much as Trent couldn't swim. So there was a moment right there where, not to speculate, but from perspectives, they also tried to save Raven. And from them trying to save Raven, that's when Trent slipped away. And still, I don't know what's going on. And finally, that boat spin all the way around to where I can see. And what I see is the paddleboard girl made it to Raven, and Raven was on the paddleboard. And I asked Raven, I said, "Where's Trent?" And she said, "I don't know." And so there were, like, again, two guys that were on the boat. And Raven, she explained to me later that she that there was a skinny guy and there was a big guy. I actually saw when they were pulling my son on the boat that there was a skinny guy and there was a big guy. So I can say that the two guys that jumped off the boat were the same guys that pulled my son up. But the skinnier one, he was like an older teenager with hair maybe about six inches long. The bigger guy was like just an older man. Not older, he was probably like in his high 30s, with a little buzz cut. I remember that much. But she did say the skinny one, which I perceived to be the teenager. He immediately, when he saw Trent slip away, he immediately tried to go after her. And from Raven's account, he was, you know, coming up, going back down, coming up, going back down. And at the time that was happening, the bigger guy was taking the boat to the shore. And this was as soon as I asked Raven where was Trin, the boat got into motion, and couldn't let go because, you know, you can get caught up under them propellers and all that stuff. But so that's what happened.